This video is about how I'm making new cartoon-like people for my memory system. I need to replace my old 100 set of cartoon people with a new one because, well, there's about 50 outfits that I've made in the recent past, 50 for a male and the same type of uniform, 50 for females. And I thought if I redo my 100 people system, 50 of them could use uh, one lot of outfits, being the males, and then the other 50 could be the females, and they'd have the equivalent outfit. And it would just be a nice way to memorize these different outfits that matter elsewhere in the memory system. And also the new hairstyles I made, there's about 50 of those. So the first 50 people could use 50 of the hairstyles and then repeat it again for the other 50 people. And that will be practice in using those hairstyles and enumerating them. I'm using ChatGPT to create a new cartoon-like person for my 00 to 99 person system. I've been using cartoon people for years and years, but it's time to replace them. In ChatGPT, I've put in my prompt. It's going to be someone of Bodo ethnicity, and the hairstyle is going to be from the work I did around December 2024. So pull in that angle of a person with a particular hairstyle and run it. And the plan is it's going to create an image facing front. Hopefully, sometimes it will not do that, I imagine, but hopefully someone will be facing front. And then I'll bring that person into Runway, and that person plus a particular hairstyle, I'll then prompt to produce the person in different ways, facing different angles. So ChatGPT has created something it always creates something that's not in as much detail as I want. So please do this again with more detail. It's just part of my process. I tried a prompt before where the step after this was all in one prompt to make it detailed, and I just couldn't get it to work. Whereas if I break it up into 2 prompts, it does work. The person it's going to make is not going to have the desired hair color. The desired hair color for person number 10 is hair color 6, which has this hex color. So when Runway creates me my 3 angled images, my final step will be to make sure there's a white background, because I like a white background, and to colour in the hair. But before we get that far, let's look at this person here. Everything about it is usable, I think, but I'd like the hair to be simpler. So I'd like to paste in this hair on top of the more detailed hair, if that makes sense. So in Photoshop, I've used its ability to highlight just one part of the image and copy it to clipboard. And then over on the more detailed image, I'm going to do Control V to paste in the more cartoon-like aspect. Well, actually, there's a smarter way of doing it, which is create a new layer. So over in the right-hand side, we've got layer 1 and layer 2. And then when I paste in this, I've got more control. I can use this movement icon, move it up into position. It's not perfect by any means. In fact, I will stretch it a bit if I can. And I will, again, if I can, let's use the selection brush highlight it, and I get rid of it in the same way that I can with other types of image software. I'll click remove, and hopefully it removes it just from this layer 1 and not touch the real layer that's on the layer below it, which could be a layer 0, I suppose. So it's trying to remove the ear. Yeah, did it. Superb. And now I flatten everything down, flatten image, and I can export that as 10F, meaning person number 10 is facing front. Now, over in Runway, I can use its Gen 4 image frames feature, and I look for my folder that's got new faces in it, and I'll select the 10F that I just made, put it into here, but I'll also select the hairstyle so it's got an idea of sort of a 3D idea of what the hairstyle actually is. The man faces front. I won't give it a hair colour. That will be my finishing touch to give it a hair colour. I've changed my mind about colouring the hair in last. When I've got a cartoon-like or simple hairstyle on the front-facing person, I colour it in, and then I opportunistically see if Runway can use that to colour on the other two images. The background is white, behind and above it. So what I'm doing here is generating the same, basically the same image we've already got, but it will be in the style of Runway. Just going to note that font here. Scroll down to where it's generating something for me. And yeah, this all takes ages, and I still haven't even done the colouring in. So for the colouring in, let me go into PaintDotNet where I've got colour 6 is that dark brown there. So that's the colour that the hair needs to become. And when the hair is the more detailed hair that ChatGPT started off, well, made when I made a detailed person, it's extremely difficult to recolour that hair. So I'll just take the first one of these, so it downloads, and then I need a different prompt. So the man faces 30 degrees to the right. See how that goes. Even for colouring in cartoon-like hair, I found it difficult to use the replacement brush, which is meant to, the colour replacement brush, which is meant to replace colour, and Magic Wand had a bit of trouble with that. So in the end, I've used this kind of Magic Wand type tool, and instead of colouring things in, I'm selecting and pressing delete on my keyboard in PaintDotNet to create transparency within the hair, because the hair normally has the brush strokes, which will be dark and will stay. And then there's the colour fill that I really want to replace. So if the person starts out with white hair and I want it to be blue hair, let's say, I go through, I make transparent what I can. And sometimes, if you've got a tolerance that's quite high when using that wand icon, you can select, it will select more than just one tiny bit, and sometimes it will select too much, but generally it's a shortcut that you can select quite a lot of the hair area all in one go, the higher the tolerance is set. And then let's say I'm happy with this, I can just Control A to copy, well, to highlight everything, Control A, then Control C to copy everything, Control N to start a new empty area, Control Shift N to create a new layer. Or actually, before we're doing that, I fill this new white area with whatever color I want the hair to be. That's after that I do Control Shift N to create a new layer. And then I paste on this thing, but anything with transparency gets colored in the blue. So I found this a really good way to color hair in. It's not perfect, but it's better than the other methods I was trying today. I should probably mention that I've been using Photoshop's ability to generatively fill to try and make a hairstyle that ChatGPT wouldn't do for me, and that um, Runway thought was some sort of headcloth or turban. Uh, so I drew it badly, and then I put it into Photoshop, the hair, highlighted it, put in generative prompt what I wanted, and eventually got hair, and then exported that so I could get the color right. It took ages. And the other software I used, which I didn't think to mention, was Adobe Substance, because for hair, I made that late last year, several hairstyles using Adobe Substance. You're probably thinking, why did he not use ChatGPT to do the different angles of the person? And couldn't he have specified a color in ChatGPT for the person's hair? And what happened was ChatGPT and Runway had their own opinion about what color the hair should be, even though I give them a hex code. It just decides its own interpretation of that. And trying to get ChatGPT to present someone slightly angled and slightly and then sort of full right side profile, it worked sometimes, but other times the hairstyle would kind of flip. So if the hair was initially flopping down this way, by the time it's generated another image, the hair's flopping down that way instead. Um, and I just thought it's too risky. If I'm not concentrating, I'll just create people with the wrong hairstyle. And even with Runway, it will not follow instructions, and I have to pay close attention to it. However, I've just got a better feeling about Runway, probably because I spent so much time with ChatGPT in the beginning and spent ages redoing, trying to get things to work, and they didn't. And on the whole, Runway does a good job. And if it doesn't, it will create 4 images for me in probably a little less time than ChatGPT does one. And if any of those 4 images is good to use, then I can use it. So it just seems to me to be a better, faster way of doing things. Having said that, everything I'm doing is taking ages.